Hey guys, lately on Today is Tomorrow, we talked about the 4th of July and what we did.
This is another episode of Today's Tomorrow, where we educate, talk, and listen. Our main topic today is about podcasting, what it takes to plan, get equipment, write, market, and record. I'm Jess.
And I'm Eli.
And this is Today's Tomorrow.
So we're going to jump right into it, guys. We're going to talk about marketing for podcasts, kind of what it takes to market yourself to become a little bit more professional in the podcast industry. What we use and how we kind of market ourselves is we market on a couple different platforms. One is Instagram. We have an Instagram. We post on there. Probably not as much as we should.
Should be daily.
But we do. So Instagram is a really good platform that we can be able to connect with, people that we follow in our own personal profiles, as well as gain some newer
Public attraction.
Yeah, public attraction, exactly. So we can do that. We also use Twitter. Twitter is another great tool to be able to follow and be able to hashtag and have people kind of follow us and what our episodes are about.
And we also
use
Facebook.
Facebook, exactly. Facebook's another one. I mean, Facebook's a huge one.
It's a growing platform for us as well. Marketing on that goes into the whole marketing part.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and being able to have a business kind of account through all of them really gives us the opportunity to see who's following us, how much visibility we've had in the last 7 days. And from Instagram, from what we have, our activity has actually been pretty good. We've had some really, really good numbers kind of following us and joining us. And it's been a really good platform to be able to kind of make our podcast a little bit better, make it grow, make it a little bit more professional as well.
And it's reaching out to our listeners and our fans, the people who listen to us, and it's a great way for them to communicate with us.
Exactly.
With our marketing with social media. Since every source of social media we have, you can contact us, give us advice, give us tips, ask us questions. You're able to call in on podcasts as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Live episodes. So it's a really great form of communication with our listeners and followers.
And we definitely want that communication from you guys as well. So if you guys have any tips or tricks or want to talk or have any questions or anything that you guys kind of want us to talk about or answer, we welcome that. Please send us a message. Please tweet us, write us on Instagram and Facebook. We'll definitely answer those questions.
Yeah, you can always call us too on certain Wednesdays now. You can always call us on Wednesdays, recording days, and we'll be recording more often in the near future, I believe. So it's just a way to communicate with us. And marketing has something. We reach out to you guys. It allows everybody to reach out to us.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's how we really come up with new episodes and new ideas, reaching out to each other. It's a great way to socialize for just having an email address.
Right. So
it's more professional.
Yeah, exactly.
You can use your personal email address, but having a podcast directly only for the podcast allows people, when you reach out to people, okay, the email address makes sense because that's what the podcast is called.
Exactly.
And I know, Eli has used the email address and called them and contacted multiple resources for upcoming episodes. It's taking a little longer to put together, but when we do our educational podcast, it takes a lot.
Yeah, it takes a little bit for us to be able to connect with some different people that are busy on a daily basis, and we just want to be able to have an outlet where people can reach back out to us and that we can kind of connect socially with everyone. And we have like Jess said, we do have a podcast number. I'll give that out right now. It's 262-278-1892. On Wednesdays when we do, live, when we kind of go live, we want people to call in. We want to answer questions. We want to see what you guys are thinking and how you like this podcast, what we can kind of do a little bit different, some topics and cool things that we can kind of talk about with you guys. So we welcome that in any platform that we have, whether it's calling or texting or messaging us or anything like that on all our social medias. Please do it.
And it's a great way also that when you have guests on, it could be a friend if you want it to be. When you're making your podcast, having just a guest on, that's marketing because they're telling their friends, people they work with are like, well, I'm going to check this out.
Right.
And then they get hooked. And that's a great way to start a basis for a podcast.
Word of mouth is really good. I mean, in anything that you kind of do, right? No matter where you're starting, like when I started my like photography business, like word of mouth is exactly what I had. Like I had word of mouth, I had Instagram. So I was always, telling people, yeah, follow me on Instagram. You can see all my work there. And then it kind of grew and grew from there. So
and I know that like our Facebook is blowing up, and it just keeps blowing up.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be 100% honest. We have not marketed on our paid for advertising with Facebook yet, and
That's
it keeps
true.
blowing up. I can only imagine what is going to happen when we do pay for advertising.
Yep, exactly.
So that's one thing I do enjoy. As a team, we have 3 people on the team as of right now. We do have past members that can help out time to time.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that people always wonder, like, well, what happened to Cal? Well, Cal's still here. It's just he's got to get his health better.
Sure.
So, but having him there when writing about stuff, I can always ask him questions. And it's nice to have friends and working with a team. It's a lot easier having a team than it is by yourself.
Right.
Because you're doing a lot of stuff all on your own. You're doing the editing, you're doing the writing, you're doing the recording, you're trying to market things, you're trying to communicate with your listeners.
Right.
It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
So
we also want to reach out to, people not only just in the Milwaukee or Wisconsin area. Like we want to be able to reach people differently in different areas. So it doesn't matter if you're, locally where we're at. We still want to talk to you. We still want you to call in. We want you to be a special guest. And on our Facebook right now, we've actually gotten like 32 new likes within just the last couple of days, which has been really cool. So our Facebook has definitely blown up in the last couple of days.
And the fact that we don't market it at all. I don't try and add anyone.
Yeah, same. I don't either. I don't like send an invite to my friends to all like it. It's just people that have been listening to the podcast or that have seen our pages or our promotions that we do like on Facebook, and they've kind of just liked it and listened to the episodes that we have on there. But that's all we've done. We haven't really done any sort of marketing on Facebook, and it's still pretty good.
I really like it. I know that Travis knows in the past when we had CIV Productions, and that was a lot more than just this. But this is more on a professional standpoint. And the steps that we take now, I don't know if I were to compare them to what we did back then, we had quality stuff.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
We had very high-end quality, like our videos were very professional. But at the same time, where we're at now with the team and be able to, each person has their own part of the pie, I feel it's so much easier now.
Yeah.
And it's the planning that we have, the schedule we have.
Yep.
And that's one thing when people are creating their podcast. Anybody can make a podcast. Just talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about something, keep it around one subject, and then put it out there. People will listen.
Now, let's also mention that, like, we all have jobs. We all have separate lives. And for 3 of us to connect on a daily basis and get this podcast going, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work for it to actually come to, to pass. We have to take time from our work, from our, our jobs, our families, things like that to come out here. But this is a great outlet for, you to connect with different people. And I know that from starting to now, and in just a couple episodes that we've done together, I think we've all kind of grown in our friendship with each other. And, Justin and Travis have been friends for a long time. I've known Jess for a while, but I didn't know anything about Travis. And Travis is super dope, by the way. So
yeah,
he's a real good friend now.
So is Eli.
Thank you, man.
I had problems with my phone. So before I call Apple, I called Eli.
That's right. Give me a call, guys. I can fix anything.
Two phone guys here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
No, but the one thing I'm trying to reach out for everybody to understand is you can have your own podcast.
Yeah.
You can do it. And the process, and what we're going to talk about in this podcast today is what it takes to be professional or what it takes to start.
Right.
And the equipment that we used, the equipment that we did use, the equipment we used before that, and the steps we've taken to get to the place that we are now. And I could compare this off of, when I first started with CIV Productions.
Yeah.
As, a producing and editing, group. The where we come from that point and knowing where we're at now, like Travis can vouch and just say how far we've come.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was a little bit different, because we went from a YouTube channel to now doing podcasts, which is a little bit different. There can be more editing done in a podcast. That's a little bit easier, if you would want to say, for lack of better terms, than doing YouTube, making videos. And that's that's what you see. You know, like everything that you see is what you get.
Right.
You know, like if I make an ugly face, you're going to see that, and there's going to be a meme about it or something of that sort.
Right.
You can't see this face I'm making right now, you know. But like besides that, you know, it's you can definitely see the difference of where we've come from there. You know, we've taken things from CIV and we've, you know, brought it into Today is Tomorrow, but in different ways. And
it's not just around like editing video.
Right.
It's around planning is a big thing. We've learned from CIV Productions. It's being persistent. That is a big thing that hit us hard with CIV Productions.
Well, it also didn't help that, you know, my commute was about 50 minutes out to you.
Yeah, that was
You
not
know.
fun.
Yeah,
that was definitely right.
That'll
when,
take its toll.
You know, that was definitely right when the boys were born. You know, they
Yeah.
were very, very little, and two at the same time. You know, Eli, you can understand having a newborn.
Yeah.
You know, at this time and trying to do this, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I think your ride's maybe like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, about 25 minutes. Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
So
And then going back and forth.
it was
like
a
that's-
hassle.
Yeah.
was
Oh,
tough.
yeah.
The
was
one
tough.
nice thing we did have was recording like a set. We had an area to record.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was really nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
Is having a place that didn't change. You didn't have to reset up. Nothing changed at all.
Yeah.
So that was really nice about that. And having what we were self-taught, like we all went to, you know, I went to college for this stuff. So it was really nice to take that information I learned in school. Not everybody goes to school that does
Right.
YouTube or podcasting
Right.
or video editing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's self-taught. And a lot of the stuff I taught myself.
Yeah.
So just
It's kind of the
it.
same thing where, you know, I mean, I'm a self-taught photographer, so kind of picking this up, you know, kind of self-teaching yourself. I mean, it's doable. It definitely is, but you like anything, you're going to invest in something that you want to do, right? So like photography, you're going to invest in a good camera. You're going to invest in lenses and lights and backdrops and, you know, all of this stuff to edit and things like that. That's kind of the same thing how it is on podcasts. But
Yeah.
let's talk about what it does take for us to plan this.
The planning process is not easy. I'm going to say that right now.
Not at all.
Planning is not easy.
I think that's the hardest part
It's
for us
the
is
hardest-
planning.
Planning. Like right now we have the episode of about, I forget, it's beer something. It's
Yeah.
The life of beer.
Yep.
It's a lot of, it's not just writing and planning. It's communicating, reaching out to other breweries and
Yep.
distributors. There's a lot of work that goes behind everything that
Yeah.
people don't understand.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort because when you reach out to a major brewery, I mean, you got to go through a couple people before you can even get an answer. And, you know, I can't tell you how many emails I've sent to about 4 or 5 different breweries just in the area. And I've gotten 2 responses, you know,
Yeah.
and they've taken a couple days to a couple weeks to actually get. So in that episode alone, like we want to be able to get there, but it's taken a little bit longer than we had planned. But this does it takes a while for us to come up with an idea. It takes a while for us to be able to, you know, if we do write something, to know what we're going to write about and how we're going to present it, how we're going to talk about it.
And
you know.
sometimes with that, we'll come up with an idea, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. We'll take time and we'll come up with an idea, write it down on paper, or in our case, like on pages on our Apple products, we'll write it down. We'll just think of an idea, and they're like, well, you know, that idea is going to cost us a lot of money. We have to be aware of what it costed, you know, to develop an episode and produce an episode.
Right.
It's just 3 people.
We also have to look at the demographic of what that episode's going to be about, you know, and make sure that it's appropriate to our followers and our listeners.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of planning and a lot of things that go with it. I mean, like Jess said, I mean, we will sit there at like 10:30 at night and come up with an idea and write it in pages, and then the next day we'll kind of keep at it and keep going until we actually do the podcast that day. But
there's some ideas we'll like work on, like, oh, this is really cool, and then we sit down and like actually think about, like, that's really stupid.
Yeah, I don't like
no
that
one
at
wants
all.
to listen to that.
Right.
No one cares.
Well, I want to hear on our social media if anyone wants to listen to an episode about wrestling, because Eli and I are very big wrestling fans.
We're wrestling
This
fans.
is my little plug here right now. That's all I'm saying. So if anyone wants to hear a podcast about wrestling, and I mean professional wrestling, That'd be
No,
great.
he means
Let
by
us know.
WWE.
WWE.
AEW, Ring of Honor, New
Yep.
Japan Pro Wrestling.
Not
you know.
like wrestling, like Olympic wrestling or
Correct.
high school or
Yeah.
college wrestling. I just want to make
I
that
mean,
clear.
like entertainment wrestling.
Professional
You know,
wrestling.
professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So-
Anyway, besides that,
It takes.
We're gonna put a vote on there and see who wants to do it. We're gonna put that on Instagram.
We'll do a poll
so-
on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of planning. Communicating with people is not easy. We
Right.
did an episode about VR and where is it at, and
Yep.
where would we see it going, and
Right.
we actually had a special guest, Eric for President, and it wasn't just an overnight hookup. You know, calling and just, hey, you want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, you have to reach out. People don't just give out their phone numbers. And
Right.
The thing
People are
is,
very leery.
yeah, we reached out. You know, we'd like to have you on the podcast.
Mhm.
Is there a way we can communicate with you? It wasn't just an overnight thing. It was a
Right.
planning. I think I was talking to you, Eli,
Yep.
a week or two before that. To say
Right.
like, hey, I have this lined up. This is a plan. I've talked
Right.
to him. And then before that, even the day of recording, we are still discussing stuff, even with Eric.
Right.
Travis had to talk to him, do sound checks, because when you
Yep.
have guests that aren't on location, when you have call-ins or you have Skype guests or whatnot, because that is a possibility.
Yeah. You got to make
Yeah.
sure audio is good and make sure that they sound good and that, you know, you guys as listeners can hear them, because when they are on the phone or on Skype or anything like that, the audio quality goes down by far. So Travis does a really good job of being able to make sure that they are heard, and he does a lot for this podcast, and he controls a lot of what we do here. Me and Jess kind of have it a little easy as
Yeah.
we're doing the podcast, because everything is done behind the scenes by Travis,
Yeah,
which we appreciate.
I do have to say hats off to Travis. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the fact of how much I've seen him grow with the soundboard and
Yeah.
everything, it's like one day I remember him asking me, like, do you know how to use this? And like, I'm intimidated.
Yeah.
There's too many
Yeah.
buttons.
There's
that
a
light
lot of
up
buttons on that thing, and they're all
switches
different
and-
colors.
yeah.
So getting that level is, you know, like where today is tomorrow did not start off with this. We grew.
Jess, why don't you give a little bit of a rundown of the recording equipment you did use before I got here, and we have this beautiful Rodecaster Pro.
All right. So when we started off, the podcast actually started about 2-3 years ago. I got into it as a hobby because I like technology, communication devices, phones. And it gave me a way to communicate with other people, bring up ideas, and see how other people felt.
Yeah.
And there's Facebook. You can talk in groups and forums
Right.
and stuff like that. But you're not putting out your feelings. If you put out your feelings, then it's get everybody's input right away. You want to say how you feel about something, and the process it takes to get to that point. You know, like I started off, I used my gaming computer setup. I used, a webcam.
Yeah.
And I bought like a Yeti microphone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the first time I actually didn't use the Yeti microphone. I did the microphone inside the computer.
Yeah.
All right. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this on my phone. Because these are all viable options you can use
Oh, yeah.
to record a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment to
Right.
have a podcast. It's,
I mean, voice memo works great.
yeah.
I'm not going to lie. The voice memo app on Apple products
Yeah.
are great. I mean, I've
Yeah.
used it for even my music,
Right.
like just little sample clips, just saying, hey,
Getting
here
a
was
riff
an
down
idea.
and then listening to it
Exactly.
later. Yeah, exactly.
Listen to it back.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
not a bad device, and
Yeah.
these things are very reasonable in price, even if, you're going to do like installment, payments like through your phone carrier
Yep.
or whatever that may be,
Yeah.
like you have a
Like, you already
decent
have
piece
a
of
phone.
equipment, you can use it.
You've
Was it-
invested in something
Yeah.
that is
Does
greater
something that
technology
you
than
don't-
you probably
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing is like I already had equipment and I was using things I already had.
Yeah.
And what I learned from the computer is recording off that, it did what I wanted it to do. The quality, it was there, but it wasn't there. Like I could record something and it was okay, and it
Right.
worked. Then I moved on and I did like the phone. Like, oh, this sounds better, but I'm using a phone on a screen the size of like 4 inches.
Yeah. Right.
It's difficult. And when you're recording, you really don't need to see the screen, but you have no control over volume levels,
Right.
bass tones, and that gets more into your advanced settings and to when you become more professional with podcasting.
Right.
And I just kept growing, and then I veered off from Geek Out with Gunther.
Mhm.
And that was like the big podcast. It blew up out of water.
Yeah.
I don't know how it blew up so quick, but I just talked to technology people.
Yeah.
Talk about technology that's in the military. VR back then when it first came out. I talked about this stuff, and it was really cool, but the quality wasn't there. And then Today's Tomorrow happened.
Yeah.
And we recorded off of speakers software on the computer with 2 Yeti mics. And but Yeti mics aren't too expensive. They're really good microphones, too, for starting off. And if that's what you want to do, that's awesome.
Of course.
It's great. I
mean,
love doing
it all depends on kind of what you can afford and what your budget is.
What you gotta
be able to set up a budget for anything, and you got to kind of work with what you have. So if you have things like that, by all means. But as you start growing and as you get more, entwined with it and in tune with it, you want to start going professional. You want to start using, equipment that is going to be at that professional level.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that and feel the same way. And from what Jess was saying, the stuff that he was using before, not as great as what we're using right now. I'll tell you that right now. So, and again, I know that Eli has mentioned this before, but this podcast would not be able to be possible without the stabilization of financial things here with Jess, because Jess did invest quite a bit into this already. So
we appreciate that.
Just to talk off what we actually have here, we have Audio-Technica headphones for everyone here. We have Audio-Technica 45 microphones, which are very nice. I'm getting mine soon. I use a $100 used microphone.
Which is not a bad microphone.
It's a Cobalt microphone.
It's not bad.
No, it's not terrible. It definitely works, but I am very excited for my Audio-Technica. And then our mixer board here, which is really specialized for a podcast. And this is a Rodecaster Pro. It has multi-channels on it. It's, I think, 4 inputs, 4 outputs, a master output. We can download patches on here for sound effects, music. We have the Bluetooth adapter in here. So this is what we connect our phone to. So when we're getting calls, it goes through here, and then we can hear it through our Audio-Technica headphones, and they can hear us through our microphones through the board.
Right.
Pretty crazy stuff. And then we also have a USB input that we use either for sound clips, video clips that we want to listen to and incorporate with our podcast, that I can control the volume here, and then we can have it going on the computer, whatever. And then we also have one for mobile device as well. So it's a really cool thing. I love using it. At first, it was a little intimidating, and Jess can, say that.
It wasn't easy. I was very confused.
Yeah, no. But besides that, it's really a nice piece of equipment, and it does the job great.
The one thing I really like about our recording equipment that we have for recording is the fact that it's so many devices put into one.
Right.
Usually you have to have a soundboard, a mixer,
right,
a preamp. So much you have to have, and this does everything.
And that's kind of, going into that budget. Like, are you willing to spend more money on different things, or are you going to spend a little bit more money on something that has all of that in one and together?
Precisely. And, and then we come down to looking at what we do for mixing and what we do afterwards, before we upload these podcasts through Speaker, I believe. Right?
Yeah,
Spreaker. Sorry.
Which is our host.
Yep. So our host is Spreaker, and then we go through Amazon, iTunes podcast, or Apple Podcast. Sorry, Apple
Google.
Music.
Google.
iTunes is going away. I understand. But, and we have to upload those things. And, about an hour podcast that we do ranges a bit over a gig.
Yeah.
And then we compress that down to an AAC, or convert it to an AAC file. And that drops it down about, I'd say 500 to anywhere between 500 and 700 megabytes.
Yep.
So that helps out, especially for uploading and compressing. But the cool thing about using the Rodecaster is that I can mix everything through here first, which is great. I love being able to mix everything here. And then once we put it through our recording software, sometimes we go back and forth. When we're in a pinch, we use GarageBand because, of course, we're Apple guys here.
That's right.
But I do normally use Reaper. That's something that I've used for my music stuff for a very long time. Very comfortable with it, and it's great software, and it's free. Let you know that right now. So not a lot of people know this, but Reaper is a great piece of software that is free.
It's awesome.
And I want to let everybody know too, when you're recording, like, so when we record, we use WAV files. WAV files are a higher quality. Now the thing with higher quality is it takes a lot more memory, and that's what Travis was talking about. Our stuff using up over a gig for one of our episodes.
Yeah.
We have to bring it back down is because WAV files, we record everything, and with the Rodecaster Pro, it also records each microphone, each thing individually, kind of like an 8-track recorder where it records everything individually. You can go back, mix it back together,
right,
and you can tone things out, you can bleep things out. But the great thing about this is you can bleep things out live.
Right. Let's also talk about the experience that we've had with our first podcast and trying to upload it, and it was almost 2 gigs.
That was a nightmare.
We were here for a very long time that night trying to see how we can convert it, and then we finally were able to convert it to an AAC to be able to, get that down from 2 gigs to, it depends. It depends on how long it is. It depends on if, how long it is and things like that. Sometimes we do 30-minute podcasts. Sometimes we do an hour podcast. Our hour podcasts, we can bring it down generally to about 100 or 200 megabytes. Maybe sometimes even up above that.
And the one thing I like to talk about, if you're doing your own podcast, and this is a big thing you might want to know. If you're doing your own podcast, you're trying to start off, there's a lot to learn. You can always look up stuff, Google stuff, check on YouTube. You can always send us questions. And when, Eli's talking about the problem that we had, because me and Eli are, writers and, the co-hosts. So that the hard part is we don't know the sound engineering that goes behind everything.
Right, exactly.
So we were dumbfounded and didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And which makes the job harder if we're trying to do it and Travis is not around. Nice thing having a sound guy, when he is around, he does his job.
Right.
Most of the time, except sometimes.
I do my job all the time.
Except upload episodes.
We're still waiting on that one. That's all right.
One time.
No, yeah, we were here. We
spent over an hour and a half, 2 hours.
At Jess's house. So
yeah,
we got done around 9:00 for our podcast time. I don't think I got home till like 1:30.
Yeah.
By the time we were able to convert it to an AAC, upload it, it was probably around like 1:00 in the morning.
It was a process.
We were pulling our hair out. It was definitely a process because we didn't know the engineering behind it, you know, and Travis was gone. Travis was asleep. He had to work early in the morning, so we had no idea, but we figured it out over time. And we were able to convert it. It did take a while.
It was a lot of Googling. And
a lot. Google is our best friend when it comes to stuff like that because we, like Jess said, we had no idea what was involved with being able to convert that to an AAC. And, we finally got that and we were up and running from then. So,
and I never had that issue before. Like, I never ran into that when we did YouTube. Like, yes, there's a limit on YouTube.
Right.
Well, there was.
Right.
This is years ago. But the process it takes just to get to that point and understanding, like, these are things when you start doing your own podcast, in which you can start one tomorrow. And it doesn't matter who you are. Anybody can do it. Your kid can do it and talk about Fortnite or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter. Just find a subject and talk about it.
There's so many options and so many topics that you can talk about. And you don't have to do just one topic per episode. You can do a series of things and talk about a series of multiple things that you like to do or that people like or what's happening in the world or, things like that. So, I mean, there are totally different types of podcasts for different types of people. You just have to remember the demographic that you're talking to and that you want to specifically, get.
And I will say this, the more equipment you have and the more technology you have for your podcast, the harder it will get. So uploading just something basic, if you're using your iPhone and recording off of that with memos or whatnot, it's fairly easy to upload that. When you're using equipment like we have, there's multiple steps. You have to take things in, change the file. A lot of steps you need a computer for. And, we have an iPad Pro we use for this, writing scripts out, looking at stuff we can record on the go, where we can do our live episodes anywhere. And that's a nice thing to have.
Right.
Not everybody can afford that.
Right.
But being able to record and do episodes, live episodes, anywhere in the world is really nice to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, we haven't done it very much yet,
Yeah.
but the possibility is there for us because we have the equipment.
Right.
Shout out to the knowledge guy for watching us live on Instagram right
All
now.
right.
Saying what's up.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of equipment and things like that. The iPad Pro that we have is awesome. Just has really, but he uses it for us, and we were able to use it here for the podcast. The cool thing about us all having Apple products is that we can share pages between each other, right? So like, I can write a statement, and then Jess can write something. Travis can go into that and be able to write something or edit something as well. And we kind of can come together separately, to be able to create an idea. Exactly.
Communicate and write about stuff.
Exactly.
And the nice thing about it is a lot of people don't understand, and Travis doesn't actually get a lot of appreciation.
Yeah.
Is Travis isn't just our sound guy. He's also our director.
Yeah.
So
he cues us in. He does everything that we need. He does all that.
They just feed me beer and food.
We do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
But it's a lot of stuff that goes on behind, besides me and Eli just talking up a storm and rambling on about stuff. And it's having this equipment, like just when we edit stuff on the computer, like we have, a powerful computer's needed.
Yeah.
When you're at the level that we're at.
Right.
And, like I said, you don't have to start off at this level. It took us a while to grow to this level.
Yeah.
Back when the podcast started off and it was me, and then it was me and Matt, we grew with equipment. We grew with more stuff. We got mic stands. We went more professional.
Yeah.
And we kept going more professional. We kept trying to bring in a sound guy. It was just difficult with the timing and everything like that.
For sure.
People's health. But now that we have a team and we have this, it makes it really easy.
It does.
I don't have to worry about something. I know Travis has my back. I know when we're writing, you have my back.
Right.
I have your back.
Yeah.
And we trade off, and we have leads, and we talk, like me and Eli will talk back and forth. Like, are you leading this one or am I leading this one?
Right.
And then we write the script, because it's more than just writing. You write a script.
Right.
And the reason behind the script, Eli, you can actually explain the script.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that we kind of write a script, and I mean, we don't necessarily write out the whole thing, but we like to talk about different points that we have. And our scripts are kind of tailored to that, where we can, pull up the iPad, or like I can have my phone out, or whatever the case may be. And we can kind of skim through what we're going to kind of talk about and pull up those points. But also they bring us back to center, So like if we talk about something, then we go off on a tangent, we can kind of look at where we're at, or as we're doing the podcast, someone can write in the notes and be like, hey, let's bring it back to this point, or we're going to talk about this point next. So with the script, it's very important for us to be able to get back to exactly what we're talking about, what the episode's going to be about. But Pages is a wonderful thing for us because, like Jess said, we can start off with an episode, and we can start off with the intro that we have on every single page, but it also lays out what I'm going to talk about, what Jess is going to talk about, and then we can come together and say, let's change this over a little bit, or, let's change this word to this, or, Jess, you're going to lead this part, and Eli, you're going to lead this part. Travis is going to come in and chime in a little bit, give his 2 cents, and then, we're going to go back to Jess. So the script is, for us, more, directed toward like Travis and being able to direct us and kind of look at us and be like, hey guys, like we need to get back on point, or we need to get back on this subject, or whatever.
I like
the
to
case
think
may
of it
be,
more as guidelines.
Yeah, that too.
It's
rather than a
directional. It keeps you
script,
one direction instead
Very
of
directional,
really going back or repeating yourself on the same subject over and over again.
Exactly.
Which is like when Tomorrow started, we didn't do a script. The first time we did a script, the difference it made. And then when we as a team started working together, we didn't do a script at first.
Right.
And then we did a script. And that script really changed how things worked out. At first, Travis a little questionable about the script, but we did the script. And Travis you're right. You're right. That script really took you the right direction.
Yeah, and I think too, like, we were real hesitant to do a script because of the time that it was going to take to do it, right? Like, when I get a script, I'll start at, like, me and Jess start the script at like 8 in the morning. Like, we start it early, and then I go to work, so I don't do it until my lunch. But I can sit there for an hour and I can just write on what I want. You know, me and Jess can go back and forth. It's funny because we have a group chat with everybody, and we'll write a script, and then Jess will text me and be like, "Hey, Tag, you're it. Like, it's your turn to do the script," you know?
Yeah.
And I'll go in there and I'll write something, and then I'll text them back, "Yeah, you're it." You know, so we have this kind of cool game of being able to go back and forth and finish kind of what we're doing throughout the day, which is really nice. But
That's the one
it
thing
is
I
directional
really,
for us, I think.
That is one thing I really like is using Pages and then having a group
Yeah,
chat.
same here.
Is with Pages, if I write something, it automatically updates on your phone.
Yep.
On Travis's
It alerts
phone.
me as well. It
Yeah.
says, "Hey, Jess is typing," and then it, you know, alerts me to say that he's finished. And I can kind of, when I go in there and type, I can see Jess's name popped up that says, "Hey, Jess joined," and then
Yeah.
you can kind of go back and forth from that
So
way.
it's just really cool to have. And if you were going to be doing a podcast with a friend, say you want to do a podcast and talk about football or sports or something like that,
Yeah.
and having a friend, you can always go on and wing it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, we've done that before with our 4th of July episode. And so sometimes we worry about stuff, sometimes we don't, but it just be happy and work and do what you want to do.
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
what you want to do. Have fun with what you're doing.
Exactly.
And so we have equipment that it's not cheap equipment.
Right.
It's an investment.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
The steps into it and taking the next steps and going further with what you have. We're moving to a studio, which is a
Right.
big step. We have an app coming like in a month.
Yeah.
That's a big step. And it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Equipment's not cheap. All this stuff is not cheap, but you don't need to spend the money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, it's an investment. I mean, if you really want what you're doing to grow and to flourish, if money does come in, for whatever you're doing, you have to put some of that money back into what you're doing. If you're constantly taking and taking and taking, your equipment's not going to grow, your business is not going to grow, and then you're going to find yourself in a spot where, hey, I kind of spent all this money on something else. My mic's, not working. What can I do? What options do I have from there?
And it's nice to have backups to backups. Like, we have our old equipment still.
Yeah.
So if we ever have to, we still have other mics and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. I really enjoy that, to have the backup equipment. And you can always sell off your equipment. And you don't need to buy brand new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So,
We know.
Yeah, you don't need to buy brand new stuff. Like,
Except for Travis's mic.
well, when you really take the step in and you splurge into becoming a professional podcast and having thousands of listeners, you sometimes you have to step up your game, and sometimes you step up your game for your main mics that are used 99% of the time, and then you don't have to splurge on every single mic. Like, if you have a guest mic, you don't need to get them a $4,000 mic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're wasting money that you can invest in something else with the podcast.
Yeah.
Like our host. We have a host for our podcast because you can't just put it out there. You have to have a host where you send it to iTunes and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not free. That costs money. And
Right.
we use Spreaker. And I believe we pay maybe $50, $100 a month for that. And it's not cheap. And there's cheaper ways to do it. But we get unlimited hours. We get live streaming. So that's one thing I really enjoy having.
Yeah.
What is your take on it with the social media and adding everything together when it comes to combining everything? Because you do the social media.
Yeah.
Travis does sound and direct, and
Right.
I do a lot of the writing and planning.
Yeah, I mean, social media takes a lot of time as well, because we have to really kind of watch what we say and watch what we do and watch what we post and things like that, because we don't ever want it to, offend anyone or anything like that. Like, we want to be able to let our listeners know what is in store, what we're talking about, what we've done already, within it. So it takes a little bit of time for us, and we don't necessarily have photos of us, and kind of what we do here, but we'll find a photo or something that aligns with what we're talking about at that day. So there's going to be more posts on social media as we kind of keep going and keep growing. There'll be more posting as we go along. But it's also a time investment too, because we kind of know a day or two ahead of time what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start posting a little bit more a couple days in advance until we're kind of live. So that's something that I've kind of been working on. And as the social media director and the marketing director, like that's something that, we have to do consistently on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So there's more to come, and we'll keep posting things, but just kind of look out for us.
And share with your friends. That's the
Yeah,
one thing.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
the biggest thing about having
Please.
a podcast is share with your friends.
Yeah.
Not everybody might not be everybody's cup of tea, but
Right.
it could be your friends' friends that are, you never know.
Yeah.
Tell your friends about your podcast. Tell your friends that you have an idea for a podcast or you
Yeah.
want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Those good friends are going to support you all the way. Some people don't understand what a podcast is.
Right.
And podcasting has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's now starting to grow recently. So that's one thing you have to look at is it will grow. If you do 5 episodes and you got, only 6, minutes listened to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't quit. We didn't end up with that issue. We didn't, when
Right.
we started recording, we, already had listeners. We
Yeah.
already had followers.
Yeah.
And then we started up social media that helps out to direct people and they start listening. And then when you connect everything, the nice thing is be able to connect your podcast to your social media.
Yeah.
So things go live. You can
Right.
do Instagram live,
Yep.
which is really cool to do.
Yeah.
I know I did say we could go Instagram live at, 100 likes or something like that
Yeah.
on one thing. And screw it. We
Yeah.
did it anyways.
Yeah, we did it today. We gave you a little tip to do that. So,
It's,
but one thing also that we want to do, we want to know that you guys can listen to this anytime. You can listen to it in the morning on the drive to work. You can listen to it when you're bored or when you're studying or, at the coffee shop or whatever the case may be. Like, this is a podcast we want you guys to listen to at any time.
yeah.
Like Jess said, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, which is fine, but we also want people to listen to kind of what we're doing and what we're talking about. But we also want to encourage people to be able to, if you're interested in something like that, we would love for you to message us. We would love for you to call us. We would love for you to, we would love to give you advice on kind of what we've done. And Jess has done it for a long time, so he's the man to go to. But we can all kind of give you advice on how we've grown together and how the podcast has grown in one as well too.
It takes time, and there's 3 of us. We want to add at least one more person eventually, fairly soon.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we want to do, and the steps that it takes, just get out there and do it. Don't
Yeah.
be scared. Don't be ashamed of yourself. We all act stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
We fall off our chairs.
Yep, that was me the first time.
We deep throat our mics.
There you go,
You
Travis.
got to have fun with stuff. I don't even talk in the mic sometimes. And then when I do talk, I use my hands.
Yeah, he does.
So just have fun with yourself. Have fun with the podcast. Enjoy yourself. Tell your friends. Share it with people. Don't feel ashamed.
Travis, get in here. What do you think, man?
What about what?
What do you? How do you? So, how do you feel like people can share this?
I just feel that whether or not you want to listen to it yourself, I feel that there's always somebody out there that could hear it, and it doesn't matter what your subject is. I never thought that I would really like podcasts a long time ago, and then I've listened to some on mental health. I've listened to a lot of them on wrestling. I was just like, oh, someone's just trying to get a buck and they want a podcast and they're like, oh, I can do this and I can talk about this. But no, it's actually really good stuff. And I think that if you can't find something from it, someone else possibly can. Again, like you said, Jez, I just want to reiterate on that you definitely can help someone out, whether it be, giving someone the podcast to listen to or actually,
And the add on that, I just want to say, before Travis was even part of Today's Tomorrow, I called him one time and said, oh, I just listened to you. I'm hearing you everywhere. I'm like, listen to me. He's, I'm listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I was.
What was that, the mental health one? Or
Mhm.
we do, because I want to explain. So what Today Tomorrow is we say it in the beginning, right when we introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
The beginning, the intro of our podcast. We listen, we talk, and we educate.
Yep.
And we will always want to educate you. If you don't know something, it's there to listen.
Yep.
That's our goal is if you don't learn something today, maybe you'll learn it today's tomorrow.
Educate, inspire.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
we're all leaders and we're all followers.
Exactly.
So take that step sometimes and get out there and get it. But, don't be scared to start up something new. Podcast is They're not easy, but they're not hard.
Right. Everybody can do it.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for listening with this podcast. This is our 6th episode of season 3, and so far I've been having a great time, and I know Eli.
So have I.
So.
Oh yeah, it's been great. And
I know you guys like listening, and you guys keep listening, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you for listening, and until next time, peace.